Good morning. So my presentation is based on transport. During questions on the 11th of February 2020, Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, stated that the government is starting a massive programme of investment in local transport, starting with a record-breaking £5 billion of new investments in buses and bicycles. He made a promise that 4,000 brand new zero-carbon buses will be available across towns and cities in the UK. Therefore, taking into account Elkington's triple bottom line theory, this presentation will address his vision of working in harmony and how the provision of school transport bring a balance. I've focused on the two secondary schools in Carmarthenshire, basically because that's where I live, to be honest with you. So by way of background, the two schools that serve Carmarthen and surrounding areas are Ysgol Gyfun Bromyrddin, which is a Welsh medium school, and Queen Elizabeth High School, which is a bilingual school. Both provide education for children from the age of 11. Bromyrddin School has approximately 893 pupils, whilst Queen Elizabeth High School has in the region of 1,600 pupils. Carmarthenshire County Council's policy on travel has been put in place in accordance with the statutory requirements set down in the Learner Travel Wales Measure 2008. To be eligible for school transport, the child's home address must be in Carmarthen, they must be of compulsory school age, and they must attend their designated school. In order to be eligible for free school transport, they must also live over the statutory distance of 3 miles. If these criteria are not fulfilled, it is the responsibility of the parent or guardian to arrange transport for their children, causing disharmony due to the likelihood of them having to take their own vehicles, thereby increasing emissions. The United Nations ethos that follows Elkington's triple bottom line theory that there must be a balance between people, place and profit, bringing the three aspects together in harmony with one another. This appears to have been taken into account by the Council. The Learner Travel Wales Measure 2008 boasts having been put in place to encourage sustainable types of travel, which they define as improving physical well-being of the users and for the environmental well-being. The Easy Read Guide defined those environmentally friendly ways of travelling as walking, cycling or taking the bus. I've therefore looked at the 3 points raised by Elkington in turn. So people. The World Health Organization reported that obesity had nearly tripled since 1974, with more than 1.9 million adults over the age of 18 being overweight and 650 million being classed as obese. Therefore, the encouragement of walking or cycling to school would encourage exercise and thereby harmony. Cooper et al. Concluded from their study that active travel to school has been associated with higher physical activity in youth compared with those that travel by car, whether this is physically walking or cycling to school, or in fact taking a bus. There's also overwhelming amounts of research to show that physical activity has a positive impact not just on physical health, but also mental health. The report card from Wales from 2018 reported that physical activities for children in Wales fall well below the guidelines, with only 18.4% of children and young people from the ages of 11 to 16 meeting the criteria of 60 minutes of physical exercise a day. There are conflicting figures on how many children actually walk and to cycle to school. However, the highest figures show 36.1%. Their recommendation was that further efforts must be used to encourage physical exercise for children to ensure future generations receive the lifelong health and development benefits of physical activity. McKay and Provost reported, with regards to environment, 43% of the nitrogen oxides emissions in the UK come from road transport. And these emissions are not just bad for the environment, but can be detrimental to health, casting further disharmony. This is supported by DEFRA, who even in 2017 stated the roads accounted for 32% of emissions of nitrogen oxides, stating that sustainable transport choices, along with regulatory controls, can contribute towards a reduction in emissions. Although stricter standards have now been put in place, they warn that these have actually been offset by roadways such as brakes, tyres, as traffic activity has increased, causing further disharmony and damage to the planet. I'll then look at profit. It is appreciated by all that the government has a spending or public expenditure limit. Each department has to work within its budget constraints, and it's for local transport for the local council to be responsible to ensure that expenditure is controlled. Resources are not without their limits. Carmarthenshire has 127,000 pupils attending primary and secondary schools, and to provide transport for all would need 1,814 70-seater buses. So in conclusion, there can be no doubt that the cost of providing transport for school children is high, and with an electric bus costing in the region of £439,000, the costs may seem to spiral out of control. However, when children as young as 5 are taking to the streets to stand against climate change and the highlighted need for international action on climate change, if we are to live in harmony with our planet, then providing sustainable transport needs to be given priority by those that control the finances.